knows what you should be doing, even though they don't know your life, your stories, your desires, your fears, your family, your obligations. I'm hoping this podcast gives you the opportunity to think about what you want, to listen to your still small voice. Welcome back, and thanks for joining me today for now the 7th season of listening to the still small voice. I am honored that I keep getting to do this, and I'm honored that you're listening. So on the day that this episode is coming out, it will be the Sunday of what is commonly known as Memorial Day weekend in the United States in the year of 2026. As if this is going to be out there forever. I still sometimes tell my age when I consider that some of this might end up in perpetuity, and that kind of scares me. Anyway, so this is Memorial Day weekend for the United States at this time, the time that I am recording this, and I've thought a lot about this holiday over the last couple weeks and over my lifetime, actually. If you do the Google searches, you'll see the history of Memorial Day started in the United States after the Civil War, depending on both sides, if it was North or South. And then at the same time, talking about that it kind of went away or kind of lost some significance for Armistice Day after the First World War or Second World War. Please don't quote me on that. I can't remember which one. But then there was also the comment that sometimes we conflate and mix Veterans Day and Memorial Day and July 4th. And at the same time that these quote unquote holidays have become just, for lack of a better term, more days for stores and companies to have us buy things quote unquote on sale. And at the same time, the change in Memorial Day, I want to say in the early 1900s, it used to be on May 30th all the time, always. And then they changed it to the last Monday of the month at that time. And then all of a sudden, then the country was ripe for, something scheduled, and it became the unofficial start of summer. And I always have found Memorial Day to be the unofficial start of summer kind of weird. For one, growing up, school didn't let out till mid-June, so it always felt a little weird that Memorial Day would kind of be in the middle of like when I was trying to study and do all the things for the end of the year. It was a great day off to get all that work done, but I never saw it as a holiday, even in school. And my parents, who are the wonderful people who have given me my work ethic, most holidays, especially those ones on Mondays like that, they didn't necessarily not work. Maybe they went for a half a day or a modified day. But then when I was young enough, I would physically go into the office with them and, put paper clips together or draw on copier paper. So to me, it was never a summer sort of thing. It was just, okay, it's another day and that's what it is. Maybe they came home a little early. Maybe it was a little different, but it always just felt like a regular day. And this includes all of the holidays when it comes to like that, but that's a story for another time. What happened as I got older, as I played in band in high school, we were not a marching band at the time. We were kind of required to march in the Memorial Day parades for our local town and city. We would actually do two, since our school district kind of covered, I guess at this time now, maybe 3 or 4 cities, so to speak. We would start with one in one town, and then we would all have to travel and go get ready to do another one in another town. So when I was in high school, my parents would have to get up early and take me to these parades. And then I would have, either they would take me between the two places, or I'd have to find a ride between the two. Where I grew up, it was not easy to get around without a car. High school was 45 minutes away from me, and that's the towns where they were in. But it became something I did for 4 years. So getting up early on Memorial Day, whether I was going into work with my mother or getting up to go play in our quote unquote marching band for the services, the parade and then the memorial service after became something kind of normal. So for me, Memorial Day always wasn't the unofficial start of summer. At the same time, where I grew up, it was also usually kind of cold and really didn't feel like summer. So I say all of that to say that if you are having a challenge with Memorial Day being the start of summer, there might be a reason, and I feel like that reason is okay. Memorial Day really, when I look at the history, like most things in America, hasn't been around for very long, and we don't have to do what's been done for the last 20 years or the last 50 years or the last 3 years if it doesn't make sense. Now that I am in a much warmer climate in North Carolina, not this year, it's been very weird. I think we had to turn on the heat last week, which is not normal for the end of May in North Carolina overnight. It's got a different connotation to it. Usually it's warmer and it is a little more of a start of summer, but still, my body is still on New York time, and Memorial Day is not the beginning of summer, even though schools are out here already. And if they're not out already, they'll be out within a week or two. It just doesn't seem for me like the start of summer. Memorial Day is not the start of summer. But I know that for a lot of people it is. And maybe it does work for you. If it does work for you, like 100% go for it. But I will say that a lot of times, and I see it with a lot of other people, Memorial Day kind of sneaks up and you're like, wait, what were we doing? Why are we doing this? Is it really summer? And it might not feel that way. It might not feel that way for a bunch of different reasons, not just the weather or your schedule or anything else like that. So, but what I will say is I'm always 100% for a Monday off, which again is not something that was normal for me. It wasn't necessarily a day off for me when I was younger. And, I guess I'm a millennial and I'm an older millennial, working a bunch of jobs when I was younger. Memorial Day was kind of the day that was off from the one job so I could work at the other job. So only very, very recently in my life, maybe in the last 5-6 years, has Memorial Day or Labor Day or these, long weekend days, even July 4th, been a day officially off. And I will admit that sometimes I feel uncomfortable with that. It feels strange. It feels weird. So I try hard to not, I'm going to say, quote unquote, make the best of it. That sounds awful. Not make the best of it, but honor it in some way. It feels strange, particularly on Memorial Day, because it kind of comes up on me out of nowhere. April and May tend to be busy. I feel like no matter what we all do, no matter what our jobs are, what our family situations are, April and May tend to be very busy months. And then all of a sudden you come up on this Memorial Day weekend and it's like, wait, what? Summer? Huh? At least that's how I feel. So I usually use this time to just remind myself that summer is coming. It's not necessarily that summer has started. It's that summer is coming. A couple years ago, I was in a course with a woman who I still respect. I'm not following her or taking her courses anymore, but she had us do an exercise of planning our summer. And I thought, as someone who is type A and loves to plan, I was like, why have I never done this before? And so I did it 2 or 3 years ago, and it was very enjoyable. It was like, what are your core, like the rocks and the sand and the little rocks in the jar, that story about the professor saying you got to put in the big rocks and then you can put all the sand, then you can fit it all in. And I thought that was very, at least for that year, it was very helpful. And I've been trying to do that myself just with my calendar recently. So I think of Memorial Day as like, well, what do I want to do this summer? Right now, the answer is not much. I do want to consciously be more, which is so funny. How can I be more not visible to the world and not paying attention to the world than I already am, as I spend a lot of time not paying attention to things, and just spent this past day getting lost in a book that I was very surprised about. And there's really no better feeling than getting lost in a book and then all of a sudden realizing, oh, you haven't eaten or drank anything for the last 5 hours. But I want to do more of that during the summer. And crazy enough, as an adult, you actually have to plan for that. You're not a child anymore where that just happens. You have to plan, though I fear for our children that that's not happening anymore either. But that's, again, for another podcast. So I am trying to think of, how do I plan to have more of this downtime, to have more of this time to honor the things that I want to honor, to be with my family, to have those sitting on the porch in the afternoon, just chatting and just kind of letting the day get away from us, but also being with my family and being with people that I love and enjoy and want to be with. So this is a strange one to start the summer, and I know that, but why would we do it any differently? Memorial Day can bring up a lot of things, and if your family is one who has a fallen service member, I can't only imagine that this brings up even more for you and your family. And the way that we now as a society nod to it without acknowledging it can be a challenge. The same way I know, particularly in the United States, depending on where you are, Memorial Day, war and the armed forces and the armed services, whatever we're calling it, please forgive me, can also be challenging to honor those who came before, who gave their lives for freedom. And at the same time, where we are at as a country, it can bring up a lot of mixed feelings. And sometimes I can understand why maybe you'd want to shove that down and just think about the beginning of summer. I am not saying that you have to do anything and what is right or wrong. I do know that those 4 years of driving to and from those parades did mean a lot to be a part of that and to help honor those who've come before to give us what we do have now, maybe as broken as that may be, but where would we be without it? So on this Memorial Day weekend, or this long weekend, or this start of summer weekend, I just want you to know that if you are conflicted, if you are feeling like there's no way summer could be here yet, if you are just feeling distraught, if you're feeling like, hey, this is summer and I'm going to go party, all of it is valid. But I think even more so, understanding that we do have the mixed feelings about it, about summer and about these holidays, is just more honest. And if we can be more honest, at least with ourselves, if not with each other, I know sometimes we cannot be honest with each other, we need to take that time to at least acknowledge it within ourselves, that we're conflicted. And that maybe the things we remember are not the same as the way things are now. And that's going to be what it's going to be. And it's still going to give us maybe some feelings we're not so thrilled about when we're supposed to be out enjoying the day and living our lives. So to start the summer, the official start of summer, or the unofficial start of summer, depending on who you talk to, I'm wishing you some peace this weekend, whatever that looks like for you. If you happen to not have a Memorial Day weekend, I also am with you on that. Again, those years are not that far behind me, though I'd like to think that they are. So if you're having mixed feelings on this Memorial Day weekend, just know there's me and probably a bunch of other people out there with you, also trying to live our lives and wrestling with it along the way. Thanks for joining me this week. I'll be back next week, and we will talk more about the joys and the confusion of summer. Thanks so much.
Thanks for joining me today, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. If you enjoyed this episode, I'm so glad. If you didn't, that's great too. Thanks for giving it a try. You can do all the things: subscribe, rate, review, emoji it up if you feel so called. I appreciate any feedback you have. Please reach out to me on Facebook at The Still Small Voice Whisperer.